From the land of lakes, this is 10,000 Takes. Wally Langfellow, along with our guest co-host this week, Larry Fitzgerald, slicing and dicing the always busy, always topical Minnesota sports scene. Larry, welcome to the show. You're filling some big shoes. Eric unavailable this week. You feeling the heat?
What is he, about a 9.5? You know, I go about 13, so I think I can do it.
Okay, all right, fair enough. We'll take that. Well, we got plenty to talk about, and for a change in Minnesota sports, it's positive.
Yeah.
I mean, we have some positive things. The Twins have been on a roll.
Right.
And, of course, first and foremost, your Minnesota Timberwolves, who you traveled with. You came back with the team from Denver. What was the mood on that airplane?
You know, I'm surprised how relaxed they are. You know, going back to the Phoenix trip, just spending some time with them, being in that locker room after they swept, you know, the Phoenix Suns. I thought that was a tremendous win. It was back and forth. I mean, you know, they have a guy score 49 points and Durant drops 33, and it doesn't bother them.
No.
They found a way to get it done with Anthony dropping 40 and Carl doing his thing and Nas, and so they've been committed, you know, all season long. The Timberwolves have been the best team in the West basically all year long, and had they not lost their last game, which they did to Phoenix going into the regular season, that's what cost them being a number one or a number two. They wound up being number three. But that gives 1 and 2 the advantage in the home court. But the Timberwolves have nullified that because this team has won 4 straight road playoff games. I've never thought that I would say that, but that is incredible when you think about it. 4 straight. They went right from Phoenix, right to Denver, bang.
Yeah, and two, on top of that, not only did they win 4 straight, but they beat the defending NBA champions on their floor and handed them their worst home playoff loss ever. I mean, that's pretty incredible, you think about, against the defending NBA champions.
It really is. But if you go back to the reality of it, Tim Connolly knew that organization. Coach Finch knows that organization. They've got coaches that have been a part of that Denver environment, that understanding of how they do things. And so they brought this team along, and they pick up Rudy Gobert and implement the defensive-minded philosophy, which everybody has bought into. And you've seen it all through the year, how they have been able to stand and do things the way they do. They don't play like everybody else. They don't allow you to reverse the ball in certain situations. And they play their offense, and they play it collectively. And that's why it's been so much fun enjoying watching this team play.
When you look at what Rudy Gobert has done defensively, and then you take him out of the picture for Game 2, my first thought was the way that they played. We need to play even better defense than normal because our defensive leader isn't here, and they sure proved it because that had to be that Game 2 win over Denver was one of the best defensive efforts I've ever seen in an NBA game, particularly in a playoff game.
Yeah, it was incredible. It was like watching the Chicago Bulls back when they had Rodman and people like that with Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen winning those 6 championships. They went into Denver with a mindset that we've gotten one, but we can play better. In their minds, they believe they could play better. And
even without Rudy.
Yeah, but if you believe you can do something and you've put in the work, you can go out and do it. They've played Denver 6 times this year, 4 in the regular season, 2 in the playoffs, and they're 4-2. That's enough for me. They are better than the world champions, and they're proving it.
I notice how you slid in a mention of the Bulls. Thanks for sliding that in there, those 6 NBA times. Now, to be fair, there have been a lot of comparisons with Anthony Edwards. I've said he's had the athleticism of a young Michael Jordan. Okay. I've never said he is Michael Jordan, and I think a lot of that's unfair because we're talking about the greatest player of all time in Michael Jordan. Michael was a defensive stalwart that people don't give him enough credit for, and he won 6 titles.
Right.
Talk to me in 10 years with Anthony Edwards if he can accomplish that. But you have to agree that his athleticism is off the charts.
It really is, and it's been incredible watching him develop. We've seen him since he got here. And Minnesota fans, don't sleep on the reality. The Timberwolves are one of the few teams in the NBA to have 2 #1 overall picks in the draft on their team. One is seasoned in Karl Anthony Towns, a perennial all-star, and he can play 5 and 4. And obviously with Anthony, the kid from Georgia coming in here, they were very high on him when they had that first-round pick. And I'm telling you, whoever picked him is going to be a general manager somewhere along the line, because that was an incredible selection, because I knew nothing about him. And once I've seen him play, he plays with tenacity, he plays with commitment, and he has fun out there. And that's how you do it.
Yeah, he's a likable character, and I think you're right. The fun part is he's so engaging, and I think the fans love to watch him play, not only for how good he is,
right,
but the fact that he's having fun out there. He's smiling. He reminds me of like Kobe or Michael, or these guys that had fun. They know they're going to beat you. That's part of the fun for them.
Right.
But they are having fun out there, no doubt.
But he's the leader. And being 22 years old and being the leader of a basketball team that's coming on, that's taking on a new energy, that's taking on a philosophy that we can play this way because this is the way Coach Finch wants us to play. And you can see through the season, after the 82 games, that they've gotten better at it, playing at the highest level.
No question. All right, we're going to talk some more NBA. When we come back, we're going to talk to Richard Coffey, the former Minnesota Timberwolf and Minnesota Golden Gopher, and he'll give us his takes on those red-hot Timberwolves. Back with more after this. Stay with us.
When you see somebody who's a great skater, you can see in their individual rhythm. My name is Christian Grunna. I am owner, head coach, operator, main instructor for Grunna Power Skating. We had a history of not just speed skating, but auto racing in our family, so always interested in being fast. I want every player that comes my way to develop their skills, but also grow confidence in themselves as a human being.
I've been meaning to give you these for many years. I think they're perfect. Maya? Oh, I love your earring. Why didn't you try these?
It isn't just about vision, it's about care. Nobody cares for eyes more than Pearl.
Get away to Lakeville, Minnesota, where your family will have tons of outdoor fun. Come for the nature and stay for the thrills. Bring the bikes, swimsuits, fishing poles, and walking shoes as Lakeville boasts trails, lakes, and beaches. Plan your itinerary at visitlakeville.org today.
Welcome back. 10,000 takes rolling along. Wally Langfellow along with our guest host this week, co-host, I should say, Larry Fitzgerald. And Larry, we're going to talk some more Timberwolves now, and joining us, former Timberwolf, former Minnesota Golden Gopher, Richard Coffey. Richard, I know you've been tuned into the Timberwolves. You've been talking Wolves with us all season long. I don't want to say ever, but I don't think I have seen a defensive effort like they put in Game 2 in Denver by an NBA team in a very long time.
Hey, they're going to win it all, baby. They're going to win it all.
Well, you cut to the chase, huh?
I just believe it's so fun to see them play, especially from a defensive perspective. It almost takes you back to like the 1990s.
Yes.
In those teams and how rugged and tough those teams played on defense. And to really see defense making a difference at such a high level again, it's fun. I mean, it's fun to watch.
It's amazing that Coach, Chris Finch, sort of a journeyman coach gets the job, and obviously Tim Connolly, brought him in and put him in control and brought this philosophy. But it took going out and grabbing a great player who's been a NBA Defensive Player of the Year. He won it again. Rudy Gobert, congratulations on the birth of his first child. But they have implemented kind of the philosophy of standard that he's established his entire career. Would you agree?
And if you listen to the interview after the second game in Denver, he actually gave Gobert credit for that. he said, based on his defense, his entire career, and what he brought when he came to the Wolves, like the other players kind of jumped on board with that same level of defense, and it's changed the outlook of the team. When you have your number one player, your best player on the team playing defense like Ant does, and possibly like the new face of the league, like when you have him playing both ends like he does, and you're on that team, you can't do anything but do the same.
Yeah, and they really do. They play a run and scramble defense where they're not letting guys look at wide open threes. The only time, and I mentioned this a little bit earlier, the only time they got open looks at threes is when they doubled on Jokic. And the Timberwolves were not doubling on Jokic that much. And I'll be interested to see how they handle it when they come home this coming weekend. But I think that the defensive philosophy not only just inbred the defensive thought in your mind, but what they've done defensively, strategically, has been brilliant so far.
Well, you have to also give the GM credit. I mean, if you look at that team, one of the reasons they're successful along with their defense is they're super long and they're super athletic. Mm-hmm. You have Reed. Naz Reed is almost 7 foot himself, and he plays a 3. Then you got McDaniels. He's 6'9", 6'10". So you have these athletic wings along with 2 7-footers, Edwards and Gobert, who can play different positions. So it always helps when you have someone anchoring the defense like Gobert. It gives you a little more confidence to pressure your guy because if he gets by you, you have a 7-foot shot blocker in the back waiting for him. So it just sets the entire team up to play pressure defense. And those guys are so athletic. They move so well, and they work so well with each other. And another thing that they do extremely well is the superstars on the team, like Anthony and Towns, they're going to get most of the shots. But they do a great job at getting everyone else involved. There's no selfishness at all. And that's key. And you see some NBA teams, like, the way they're structured, things haven't worked out like it had in the past. And I think, these new young teams, man, they're coming up and they're hungry and they're playing hard, and it's fun to watch.
They're committed. They're committed to one another, and they've got 3 perimeter defenders and 3 interior defenders, and they're interchangeable. And that's what I enjoy about watching them. I get excited about defense because I know I've been in the business a long time. You win championships playing defense. I don't care what sport it is. You have to be able to stop people. You have to be committed to it, and they've shown a willingness to do that. Would you agree?
Most definitely. And that's why I don't think there's a team – well, there isn't a team in the league because if you look at the stats, they're the number 1 defensive team in the league. Right. But there's not a team in the league that plays defense like the Minnesota Timberwolves, and that is going to carry them, in my opinion, to the championship.
All right, the other thing that could carry them to a championship, and you said will carry them to a championship, and I'm going to hold you to that, because we haven't had one in 33 years, by the way.
And I'm telling you, that I am so on this team right now. It's just fun to watch. And, this state deserves a winner more than anyone else in the United States. So yeah, I'm with them.
All right, so Anthony Edwards, we've talked about him briefly, but he has the ability now to do what he wants in the fourth quarter, or so it seems. When he gets the basketball, if he draws the double team, he finds the open man. If he doesn't get the double team, he goes to the basket, and if he's guarded heavily, he draws the foul. He wasn't necessarily getting those foul calls earlier, and I don't know if he was complaining too much or they finally stopped. And, man, he's getting a ton of calls now. When he goes to the basket and he gets hit, he is getting calls now that he did not get earlier, and that's important because, man, he's been really good at the line too.
You really have to prove yourself, and you're not going to get the calls that some of the veterans get that have earned. Now he's earned that position where everyone understands what Minnesota has been saying probably for the last year and a half, maybe 2 years, that he's going to be the new face of the league. And I think we even talked about it on one of your earlier shows in the season.
Right.
And I've been telling everybody, when the nation gets a chance to see him, And let's face it, like Minnesota don't play on national television a lot throughout the season. They are regional, but not national.
Right.
I've been telling everybody, when the nation gets a chance to see him, and if he continues to play the way that he has played the entire season and shows up in the playoffs like he has shown up during the regular season, and the nation get a chance to see that, you're going to see a different opinion. You're going to see the opinions of his game start to rise, just like it has. And I'm sure us in Minnesota, we're not surprised by it because we've been seeing it. And of course, whenever you have a young guy, he comes out, he matures a little every year. He gets stronger a little every year. He understands the game a little better every year. And that's what he's going through. And he's only still, 22? Is he 22, 23, something
22.
like that? Yeah, I mean, he's a young cat still. And he's not even as good as he's going to get. Listen, he's not as good as he's going to get. He's not as strong as he's going to be. He probably won't reach his peak strength until 26, 27, when his body matures. Remember, your body is still mature. At age 25, your brain is still developing. And your physical physique is still developing. He hasn't even reached this peak yet. So, man, if they can keep this team together, man, Minnesota basketball has a bright future if they can keep this team together.
If they can keep Anthony Edwards.
Well, I
That's
think
always a problem.
they've taken the right steps because they gave him a max deal. What was it, $260 million before the season? And when that happened, I said, "Whoa, they see something we haven't seen yet." And we've seen it gradually throughout the season because he's an all-star, he's an Olympian, he's on the USA team, and every week we're seeing bits and pieces of his arsenal come out, right?
And I'm telling you, from an athleticism, a lot of people are comparing him to Jordan and all these things, and I think he has some of those same intangibles. But from an athleticism perspective, I've never seen someone jump as high as he jumps and finishes dunks. This dude he hits his head on the rim, blocking shots. I mean, he jumps from seem like 10 feet out over people, finishing dunk. Mm-hmm. From an athleticism perspective, there's no one better. There's no one better.
Yeah. All right. How many games is this series going to go? Last question
4.
for you.
It's going 4 games. Yes, it's going 4 games. Do you know how crazy the Target Center is going to be?
Yeah, it's going to be crazy.
Be wild.
Yeah.
The whole downtown is going to be wild. I honestly think it's a possibility that it can go 4. Now, let me calm down a little because I'm so excited. I'll say it goes 5. But that's it. All right. Denver, the series is over.
All right. Well, you and Charles Barkley, say the same thing.
Hey, Denver cannot figure out how to score on that defense. I never thought I would be sitting here and saying Jokic is struggling.
Well,
he is struggling.
Yeah, no question.
He is. In the second game, they didn't even have Gobert. Let's go, man. Let's go. I'm so excited for these guys. Let's go.
All right, I'm going to have to cut this off because we don't have enough time for the cheerleading that you're going to lead us through. Richard, thank you so much. Appreciate your perspective. We'll check in again. I'm going to hold you to that sweep or 5 games. I'm thinking 5, but I'll take a sweep. Thanks again.
Thanks, guys. Enjoy the rest of the evening.
All right. He is Richard Coffey, the former Timberwolf, former Gopher, joining us here on 10,000 Takes. Larry and I will be back with more after this timeout. Stay with us.
Let your adventure begin in Lakeville, Minnesota. We have over 90 places to grab a bite to eat, and we're close to the Mall of America, Valley Fair, and the Minnesota Zoo, plus hotel packages and great rates. Visit Lakeville. We're serious about fun all year round.
When you see somebody who's a great skater, you can see in their individual rhythm. My name is Christian Grunna. I am owner, head coach, operator, main instructor for Grunna Power Skating. We had a history of not just speed skating, but auto racing in our family, so we're always interested in being fast. I want every player that comes my way to develop their skills, but also grow confidence in themselves as a human being.
I've I've been meaning to give you these for many years. I think they're perfect.
Maya?
Oh, I love your earring. Why didn't you try these?
It isn't just about vision, it's about care. Nobody cares for eyes more than Pearl.
This is 10,000 Takes, and we will take a break from talking about the Timberwolves because there are other things going on in the world of sports. Wally, along with our guest co-host this week, Larry Fitzgerald, filling in for Eric Nelson. Let's talk Twins. They ran off 12 in a row.
Right.
Now, it's early. We keep saying that. I know, no offense here. 7 of those 12 wins were over the White Sox, who had the worst record in baseball. But they still had to win the baseball games. And they're doing it now without Byron Buxton. Mm-hmm. They've done it all without Royce Lewis. Right. He hasn't played since the very opening day game. What are your thoughts on why and how this team has kind of pivoted and made this 2024 season something to keep an eye on?
Well, Rocco is a terrific manager, Rocco Baldelli, and
you're on board with that.
He's got this team. I've heard some of your shows, and you're a little questionable about him, but I like him. I have a problem with the analytic issue.
So do I.
Of him in most cases, but he's been able to get this team to this point, and they still got a long way to go. They're still chasing Cleveland, and Detroit's pretty decent, and Kansas City's been playing well, but they beat Kansas City. But the problem I have with them is that they've had a lot of players on that injury list, and we're just we haven't got to May 15th, Wally, and they've been on that list and they've been pounding it with 5, 6, 7, 8 guys, and sooner or later that catches up with you.
Yeah, there's no doubt. We mentioned Royce Lewis and Byron Buxton. Caleb Thielbar just came off the injury list.
Correa's been on.
Correa's been on the list, and he's back on. And boy, he looks good at the plate the last few games I've watched him play.
Right.
And he is so important to this team.
He is. He's a superstar. And we wondered why San Francisco all of a sudden didn't sign him a couple of years ago when he had that deal agreed to, and then he walked away from them. And I think
Mets.
The Mets said, nope, we're not going to do it. And then the Twins said, we're buying it.
I wonder, when is this fan base going to catch on? I was at a game against Seattle earlier this week, and there was basically nobody in the building.
Wow.
I mean, they announced 14,000, but Larry, there were no more than 7,000 or 8,000 people there. And I think that might have been an exaggeration. I mean, it is. When are Twins fans going to wake up? This team is actually pretty good.
Well, I think this state is getting pulled at. I mean, the financial investment you got to make in the Vikings for seat licensing, season tickets, and then the Timberwolves, people are filling that building.
That's true.
Okay, and then here are the Twins, and now you're questioning, are the Twins committed? Because I hear they paid $35 million less for the team that they brought out of Fort Myers this year. So I think it's part of that.
Fair point.
Some of the fans have just not had a chance to buy in.
Yeah, well, I don't doubt any of that. All right, we're going to do takes of the day. We're going to hear your take.
Okay.
And you're going to hear another one of mine. Takes of the day coming up next, right here on 10,000 Takes, your Twins ticket.
I've been meaning to give you these for many years. I think they're perfect.
Maya?
Oh, I love your earring. Why didn't you try these?
It isn't just about vision, it's about care. Nobody cares for eyes more than Pearl.
Finding the ideal place to stay is important for business travelers. Lakeville, Minnesota is conveniently located off I-35, just south of the Twin Cities, with a variety of hotel choices. Lakeville offers convenient amenities such as shopping, walking trails, golf, and more. Our unique meeting spaces, historic downtown, live music, and over 60 dining options are sure to impress. Book your next stay in Lakeville and experience convenience, comfort, and quality. Find your perfect hotel at visitlakeville.org.
Welcome back. Final segment of this week's show, and it is time now for the ever-popular Takes of the Day. Now, typically, Eric's sitting in that chair, and he bats cleanup.
Right.
And I lead off. So we'll do it that way since you're filling in for Eric. We'll let you bat cleanup. You can clean up my mess. I'll start off, and we'll see how the old mood meter pegs in tonight's version. So earlier in the week, the governor of the state of Minnesota signed into law a new law that will now prohibit these ticket vendors, whether it be Ticketmaster or Ticket whoever, Vivid, StubHub, all of those online type of places. It prohibits them from listing one price and then charging you another. I know that, well, you've gone to those ticket things before, and you've gone online, you say, hey, there's a ticket for a Twins game, it's $20, and you're sitting, you got good seats, and then you look at it, and then by the time the fees come down, you're paying $35, $40. You're paying more for the fees than you are for the ticket itself. Well, they're putting an end to that. They must now tell you the out-the-door price. Now, it doesn't go in effect, unfortunately, for Timberwolves fans until the end of the year. January 1st is when it officially goes into effect. But it has been signed into law. And thank goodness, because it's a bunch of bull. It's a bunch of crapola. How in the world can you show one price and then charge another? When I go to the grocery store and I pick up a gallon of milk and it says $2.99, and I walk up to the register, it's not $4.99, it's $2.99, Larry. So I expect the same thing that when I go and buy tickets to a Timberwolves game, to a Vikings game, to a Twins game, to a Wild game, to a Gopher game, whatever it is, I expect the price to be the price. And if they don't want to have those fees included, you got to put it. Tell me the final price, and we'll work from there. So good for the governor, good for the state of Minnesota, and good for Taylor Swift. It was because of her, because of the concert last summer, where there was all kinds of shenanigans going on with tickets, that this came front and center. So Taylor Swift has done it again.
Wow, I tell you. She helped the Chiefs win a championship, supplied that kind of momentum. And what's the mood meter say about your deal here? Hey, that's pretty consistent.
Giddy Guardian is what it says. I am giddy. All right, what's your take?
My take is on the Minnesota Vikings taking J.J. McCarthy, number one, with the 10th overall pick. They get the quarterback that they had, I think, invested in. They went out and talked to Jim Harbaugh about him. Obviously, they won a national championship, 15-0 at Michigan. But the one thing that people have had issues with is that Caleb Williams or another quarterback that was picked, Jaden McDaniels, even with LSU, both of them won the Heisman Trophy, but they both threw the football a whole lot more than J.J. McCarthy. And so that's been sort of the negative swing with the J.J. McCarthy, that, well, he's more of a game manager as opposed to a true sling it down the field type quarterback. But I think the Vikings are going to get the best out of this because he's going to really get to understand this offense, get to grow with it with McCarthy, rather, the head coach O'Connell.
Yeah.
And I think that once they get that all shored in, the Vikings are going to be headed in the right direction because it's time for a change at that position and a quarterback that they can depend on and look forward to for years to come.
All right, Larry. All right, that'll wrap up this week's show. Thanks to Larry for subbing for Eric, for David Well, Paul Langfellow, Richard Coffey. I'm Wally. Have a good night, everybody, and thanks for joining us. This is 10,000 Takes, your sports ticket.